All right, today we are diving deep into Approved Document P, which is the absolute essential guide to electrical safety in homes across England. If you're an electrician, a developer, or a designer, trust me, this is stuff you absolutely need to know. So let's get right into it.
Right at the heart of this entire document is Requirement P1. And look, this isn't just some dry rule, it's a mission statement. Every single regulation we're about to cover is designed to hit one critical goal: protecting people from fire and injury. It's that simple and that important.
So here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with that core safety standard. Then we'll get into exactly where Part P applies. We'll also cover the absolutely critical difference between notifiable and non-notifiable work, how you prove your work is compliant, and how these rules play with other regulations.
Okay, let's start at the beginning with the cornerstone of it all, Requirement P1. This is the bedrock of any safe, compliant electrical work you'll do in a home.
So what does that mean in plain English? It means all your standard domestic wiring, we're talking low and extra low voltage stuff, it has to be tough enough to handle physical knocks and scrapes and designed from the ground up to prevent shocks and fires. This is the absolute minimum standard for safety. No cutting corners. So, how do you actually meet this requirement? Well, the answer is BS 7671, which you probably know as the IET Wiring Regulations. The easiest way to think about it is like this. Part P tells you what you legally need to achieve. BS 7671 tells you how to do it technically. For any professional, these two documents are basically inseparable. All right, so we know what the rules are, but where do they actually apply? You might be surprised by just how wide the net is cast.
Of course, Part P covers the main house or flat, that's a given, but it also extends to electrical work out in gardens, sheds, and detached garages as long as they're getting power from the house. And in apartment buildings, it covers common areas like hallways and shared spaces like laundries or gyms. It can even apply to a business, say a shop downstairs, if it happens to share an electricity meter with a dwelling.
Now, there is one key exception to be aware of. While Part P covers most of the common areas in a block of flats, it specifically does not apply to the power supply for lifts. That's a really critical detail for anyone working in these bigger multi-occupancy buildings.
Okay, this next section is massively important for your day-to-day work. We're talking about the difference between work you can just, do and work that needs an official sign-off from a building control body. Getting this wrong can cause big problems.
To put it simply, notifiable work is seen as higher risk. Things like installing a whole new circuit or working in a particularly hazardous area, and it absolutely has to be certified. Non-notifiable work, on the other hand, covers smaller jobs. They still have to be done right, of course, but they don't need that same formal notification process.
So what exactly makes a job notifiable? Well, the regulations are very specific. There are 3 triggers. 1. Installing a completely new circuit. 2. Replacing the consumer unit. And 3. This is a big one. Any addition or alteration to an existing circuit if it's inside what's called a special location.
So, what is a special location? Well, for most of us, we're talking about the area immediately around a bath or a shower. You've got that dangerous mix of water and electricity, which creates a high-risk zone that needs extra care and attention. This also applies to rooms with swimming pools or saunas for obvious reasons.
And the rules here are super precise. The special location in a bathroom isn't just the whole room. It's a very clearly defined zone. It goes 2.25 meters straight up from the floor and 60 centimeters, or 0.6 meters, horizontally out from the edge of the bath or shower tray. Any electrical alteration inside this specific box is automatically notifiable.
And because of that specific definition, it means a lot of common jobs are actually non-notifiable. Things like adding a new socket in a bedroom, swapping out an old light fitting for a similar one, or even installing a new built-in cooker are all non-notifiable, as long as you're not adding a brand new circuit to do it.
So, let's say you've completed a notifiable job. How do you actually prove it's compliant with the law? You can't just say, "Trust me." There are specific official ways to get it all signed off.
You've got 3 main routes to go down. The most common, and usually the quickest, is self-certification. This is where an installer who's registered with a competent person scheme, like NAPIT or NISEC, signs off their own work. The second option is to hire a registered third-party certifier to come in and inspect it. And the final route is to notify your local building control body directly before you even start the work.
Now, whichever route you choose, providing the right documentation is absolutely essential. We're talking the technical BS 7671 certificate, the official building regulations compliance certificate for the client, and also making sure there are clear labels and operating instructions left for the homeowner. It's all part of the job.
It's also really important to remember that Part P doesn't exist in a vacuum. It interacts with other key building regulations, especially Part M, which is all about access and the use of buildings.
Part M is all about making sure buildings are accessible for everyone. And for electricians, this boils down to specific recommendations for where you should place switches and sockets, particularly in new builds, just to ensure they're easy for everyone to use. So, in new homes, Part M recommends that switches and sockets should be mounted somewhere between 450 and 1200 millimeters from the finished floor level. This range ensures they're easily reachable whether a person is standing up or using a wheelchair.
For the consumer unit in a new house, the recommended height is a bit higher, somewhere between 1350 and 1450 millimeters. This keeps it within easy reach for adults, but safely out of the way of curious little kids.
Okay, that was a lot to get through. Let's just quickly recap the key takeaways from all of this.
In a nutshell, Approved Document P is the legal foundation for electrical safety in our homes. It is all about protecting people from harm. Understanding its scope, and especially that critical difference between notifiable and non-notifiable work, is absolutely fundamental for anyone working on domestic electrical systems.
For more videos diving deep into the technical requirements of building regulations, visit the Building Regulations Copilot YouTube channel, and for any building regulations-related queries, head over to buildingregulationscopilot.com.